Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of East Meets West.
I am your commissioner and owner of the Both Sides of the Bun franchise, joined here today by member to my left, the owner of Globo Gym Purple Cobras, and to my right here, owner of the Wissinoming Radskins.
Welcome back.
How is everyone feeling this week?
I thought both your intros were actually great. This is the first time you didn't screw up, and it only took you about 38 takes.
Yeah, you guys don't see this on camera. That was for us to simply get through that one sentence. We've been here for maybe 25 minutes.
Yes.
Tough week for all of us. I think that's playing into it. Everyone in this room lost. Cameraman lost. Your commissioner lost. Two guys to the left and right of me here lost.
The game of the week.
Bunch of losers this week. I don't know how else to put it. Need to rebound. I believe none of us are playing each other this week, right?
No.
So I'll have the chance to rebound.
Yeah.
Anything I'm missing here? How's the week?
No, I don't have any running backs. That's what we're missing. I'm missing running backs.
Ironically enough, you drafted Antonio Gibson and Jonathan Taylor thinking that you had the top running back.
I thought I had the top duo in the league, and it seems like I don't have any.
Gibson had a great week. That was
he had one good play.
71-yard touchdown.
Made up for everything, which
yeah.
You know how this goes. But I need a running back. If anybody is looking for one.
First loss always cuts the deepest. How was your losing week?
I mean, I couldn't have picked a better week to have a down week because, high the week was put up against me. So, I mean, if I would have scored well and still lost, I would have been probably more upset. But, I mean, my week was over by 2 o'clock. So
all three is under 100? No, Mike. Mike actually had a really good week.
Yeah.
He ended up having
my week started with CMC. I played against CMC on Thursday night. He went down. I was watching the game with our cameraman Mike. I thought for sure I had it locked in, looking at the lineups. My team did not show up. A lot of duds this week. Julio Jones, hamstring injury. We'll get to that. Hawkinson put up a dud. A few others for just putting up duds. So, got to do better this week. Get back. Still playing for first place. But, yeah, it's a rough week. I think we all can agree we just want to move forward and get right into C Block's Drops.
Absolutely.
Our new news segment coming at you for the third week now, I believe. So nothing too groundbreaking this week. The big one here, we did see another trade in the league. We saw Foster, or the owner of the El Tigre Azul, making a trade with shirts off, pants down. Brian Foster sent Cortland Sutton to Brian for James White. I think this was a reactionary move. He has a lot of running back injury, needed someone to start. And it continues because James White has also got injured. But thoughts on the trade prior to the injury? Jake, I'll start with you.
It was a good move. Brian got a little bit of value there, and obviously hindsight didn't work out in Foster's favor, but it was a smart move to start with his wide receiver depth.
I thought it was a great move by Brian. Getting rid of one of the 19 scat backs he has to get a nice receiver who is the clear one on that team, and they just had a receiver go down too. So
yeah, he did what he should have. With the
scat
backs, he did what he should have.
Yeah. I also like it from the Brian side. I think again Foster's in a tough position. Brian tried to capitalize with Cortland Sutton. Didn't have a great game, but we'll talk about this a little later too, may get a little bit more of an uptick. See an increase in targets with some more injuries. Just a lot of injuries so far this year. Hate to see it.
Yeah.
That's the only big news. We're going to get into some injuries, but first I wanted to bring back, I know I promised the power rankings last week, so let's get right into the Commissioner's Power Rankings, where time is of the essence. I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. Number 12, I will spend some time on. Number 12, I have Alex. I don't know what's going on with the Alexander, the Less Than Greats franchise, but I really want to see some additional effort out of the Alexander the Greats franchise moves. He had a lot of injuries at running back. However, he has yet to put in a waiver claim, any kind of bid. Every one of his transactions, I believe, has been made on Sunday between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern, right before the game's getting ready to get kicked off. It feels to me, I know he has a lot going on. I don't want to talk about personal things, but he's working a lot. Has a new love in his life, apparently. A lot of things that no one else in this world are dealing with. No one, once that happens, I also forget to pick up my phone and simply make a roster adjustment. But
luckily he's in your division.
It almost feels shitty to get the free 2 wins by beating him. So expect a lot more out of him. I thought he was going to come back. First playoff appearance last year.
Yeah.
And
coming off a good year last year.
I don't know if there's anything else to add before I fly through these, but I think that was something we just had to call out. Like, let's get it together. This is a league of integrity, and we want to make sure everybody
Sounds like a personal vendetta.
I think I'm just speaking.
We have zero input.
I think I'm just speaking from what everyone's coming to me. I'm speaking from the commissioner's table. I would love for Alex to continue to do what he was doing last year, keep pushing forward. I think I even voted for him to be in the playoffs before the season, but it's just sad to see. So want him to push forward. Coming in at 11, the Alex of the East Division, Steve.
Don't ask him.
Not a great week. An average week, his opponent put up a very low amount of points, but not a great year so far. Number 10, he's the third in the West right now, but injuries, like we talked about. I have Foster because of his roster construction right now. Just with all the injuries, I think he needs to make some kind of move, maybe hit someone on the wire, but we'll talk about that a little later. Number 9, all the way down to number 9, I do have our former champion, Mike.
Current.
Cameraman himself. Coming in at 8, Charlie. Charlie ranked above Mike, made the jump. I think his team's going to only get better as the year goes on. He has Chuba Hubbard this week, so he should have a running back to start. That's been his down point so far in the year. Number 7, Jose's team's coming alive. It's usually what happens with Jose. He either starts off slow, and he always goes on these weird stretches where he puts up a ton of points back-to-back weeks. Seems like that's happening now. Number 6, I do have Brian, right out.
He's not going to like that.
He's not going to like that. Win some games. Outside looking in, he is, I believe, 4th right now in the East, 6th in the power rankings. I think that's fair. Number 5, I have myself. Rough week last week, but besides that, too early, decent wins, 110 points or more each game. Last week, of course, was a dud, so we'll see how we respond back and maybe move up or down the rankings. Number 4, I do have Brock. The Brock football team is leading the West Division. He is at the top, so he deserves a spot. But top 3, I do have all Eastern members. I think it's only right. The East is far and away right now the better division this year. Matt coming in at number 3. Tough loss, but you're right there high of the week for the prior 2 weeks. Jake at number 2. And then, maybe to the shock of everybody, Joe's Gymnasium, man, they're lighting the world on fire right now. They had a high of the week. Was that back-to-back high of the week?
No, Charlie
had high of the week, sorry.
But Tom has, Tom's at close to 400 points. I think it's like 397. He's having a fantastic start to the year. If I had to guess, he's on pace to break the record, I would assume.
I would imagine so.
So,
yeah.
But we'll see how that continues. He does have a good roster. We'll just see how he manages it.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the number 1 in the power rankings.
That wraps up the Commissioner's Power Rankings. Just wanted to fly through this real quick. We'll check in periodically. We won't do them every week for sake of time, but here and there, maybe every other week, every 3 weeks, we'll jump in on them, see
I think once we get towards the end of the season, maybe we'll start going into a weekly thing. But I think once we get to mid-season with that.
For sure. All right, let's move on to some injury news throughout the league.
Yeah, this is big.
We a lot of injuries. I'm going to start off here. Some receivers. So A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, both receivers for the Tennessee Titans, both coming up with hamstring injuries, popping up on the injury report. Matt, kick to you. Thoughts on Julio and A.J. both have injury history? Are we concerned?
I'm not super concerned with Julio because he's hurt every year for the past decade, it feels like. He may miss a week, but I think he's going to be fine. And then with A.J. Brown, he's listed as week to week, so I'm almost certain he's definitely missing this week, maybe another, but we're not super aware of the severity of all their injuries. So
before you move on, if you had to guess, do they both play this week? Or I'm sorry, do they both sit this week? They have the Jets. Would you sit them?
I would sit both of them.
Yeah, you would sit them, right?
I think A.J. sits, Julio plays. I think
his snap count's very low though. He only played 50% this week.
It's a week, like I said. It's a week to maybe this is
rest them, but use them if you need them.
Just Derrick Henry, 35 touches.
I do think, and we'll get into this in the game, so I'll save it for there. But I do have some insight, or my opinion anyway, when it comes to Julio and A.J. I think with them out, it does nothing but hurt the offense. So
absolutely.
Additional receivers picked up. Additional receivers injured.
Yes.
Tyler Lockett came up with a knee injury. He did return to the game. No concerns. Tyler Lockett, he's good to go.
No, came back and played. I didn't really see anything after that would indicate that he's going to miss any time.
All right, Juju Smith-Schuster, rib injury. It seems like
That looks a little questionable. From what I've read, at least, it looks like that could be something that lingers.
Yeah, ribs. We saw Amari Cooper hurt his ribs in week 1. He hasn't been the same since. He's playing, but I don't know. We haven't seen as many targets going his way. It could be a Cooper thing injury. It could just be the way the game has been working out for them. A lot of running plays and a lot of rushes for Zeke and Pollard. One last receiver. This could be a big one. Not a big name, but it could be a big injury. KJ Hamler.
Yeah.
Out for the year.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
So
he was getting hyped up a lot over the past couple of weeks with the Judy injury.
Yeah.
And that's a big loss for them. And the fantasy community, of course.
I would say check your league. If anyone dropped Jerry Judy, he should be coming back. I think he
was on the 3-week side. Did they put him on the IR?
He was on the 3-week IR, so he should be coming back a couple weeks. If you have an IR, I think he's worthy of a stash and throw him on the IR, see what happens. Also, you were able to pick him up in our league, but Tim Patrick.
Yeah,
added value. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the 2 on that team now.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless you want to consider Fantas or 2, but
and he's taking advantage of it.
Yeah,
so he's playing pretty well.
Yeah, I think he's a good flex. I think these injuries, Judy isn't able to come back. I think Tim Patrick's a good flex. Running backs: Chris Carson, hamstring. Looked like it was more of like a cramp, but they did say it was a hamstring injury.
It looked bad.
And then he came back.
He was like hobbling off the field. It looked bad.
Right back in.
Yeah.
I would chalk that up to more cramps this week. Reading about him, I didn't see anything that was again going to deter him from playing this week.
Yeah. Someone who will not be playing this week, James White, hip injury.
Very unfortunate.
Deemed out for the year this morning.
I believe it was the same as Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
They ruled him out. So.
Out for the year. We'll talk about some guys who may step up in his absence. Keeping with New England, this team's traveling back to New England this week. Gronk, he has a rib injury as well. He returned to the game. I can't imagine he sits this week.
All indications are that he's playing this week.
He wants to play in the game when Brady breaks the record. He wants to play in New England. I think he'll be back. That's all.
Now we got the big one. Missing on there, CMC.
Yeah, so CMC. Outside of, I think I'm surprised to see he wasn't put on the IR. I think it's great news. But
fantastic news for everybody.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on for sure. See how it progresses. Chuba Hubbard we're getting ready to talk about for waivers. In our league, he was already rostered, but clearly the best pickup this week.
If he's available, pick him up.
Yeah.
Easy pickup. But the CMC injury. We'll dive into this later. Actually, we'll dive into a little bit now. It hurts Foster a lot. We talked about his running backs off the air. I believe it's Drake and Malcolm Brown. So he's in a tough spot. It's nice to see that he didn't go on the IR. But Foster definitely got hit by the injury bug this week, and fortunately for him, was able to pull out a win.
Yeah, I'm worried about CMC. I think just even if he gets back, it's just is this something that's going? You get a week out of him and then it pops up again. Hamstrings are always tough to judge.
Yeah. And that just tightened right up on him. Man, it looked like he gave the Deion stutter there on when it was live, and then when you saw it, you just immediately saw everything just kind of buckle on him.
Yeah,
it didn't look good.
Anyone else we're missing? Missing any other injuries?
Nah, that was pretty much it. I think Deontay Johnson. I haven't really seen any updates on him. You catch anything on him for Bry? I know Bry's in a little bit of turmoil right now with the wide receivers, right?
Was he limited in practice today? I can look that up, but yeah, something to keep an eye on there for sure.
No. I think we're good. I think we just got to give out our Ben Simmons award now.
Yeah, Ben Simmons award. So we're all losers this week. One of us, think this was overwhelmingly, we all agreed that this should be kept right here in the commissioner's lap. I, again, played someone who lost 2 players. Juju left early. CMC scored 4 points. You got to beat the CMC owner when CMC scores 4 points. I was not able to capitalize. So I am this week's Ben Simmons loser of the week. Also, Ben Simmons, despite however big of a loser I may be in fantasy, you are that big of a loser and more in real life.
I was saying, for the 3rd consecutive week, Ben Simmons is also the Ben Simmons loser of the week.
Yeah. doesn't want to play. This isn't a basketball podcast or video podcast, YouTube show, whatever you want to call it. But pay you to shoot the basketball. So we'll move on. Waiver wire ads really quickly, just for, again, time's sake. Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders go to Steve. $13 each. I'm going to lean that he thought someone else was going to bid higher, so he figured, hey, if I put the same amount on both, I'll get one of them for $13, and he ended up having both of them fall to him for $13, which I would argue...
Texting with him, he called it a good problem. I don't see how that is a good problem.
No.
You have no idea who to start. You're in. If you wanted to, you have no idea who to start there. It really kind of screws you up a little bit, and it's a waste of an additional $13.
Yeah,
They're both not fantasy relevant to have both of them start the same week.
Like if that's me,
so you'll
I'm
never play both.
Doing the same amount, but I'm dropping the same player just in case I get the one, the other one's off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they're both startable. I just don't know if I want to have play on team.
I wouldn't want both of them on the same.
I wouldn't have to make that decision either. Like if I'm picking one up, I'd rather just be able to play the one that I really wanted.
Yeah, I was reading Cole Beasley has 30 targets this year.
Yes,
through 3 games.
I did put a bid on him, and I think last week he had 11 or 13 targets, something like that. He had a career high in targets last week. Yeah, he had a career high.
Bengals defense goes to Matt, $7.
Beat me on the tiebreaker. I was 10 out of 12 on the tiebreaker, and got me on that one.
Couple tight ends flew off the board. Tyler Conklin goes to Brock. He put up a good game last week. He's been the Minnesota. He's the tight end there with Irv Smith down.
Yeah, position of need for Brock. Good move.
Yep, $7 on Brock. Jared Cook, $4 from Jake.
Just to touch on that a little bit, that is obviously I want to get rid of Tunyon, but this is the whole Kyle Pitts thing right now. It's starting to. We're getting into week 4. It's starting to get a little worrisome, so I had to kind of dive into the wire and get the backup maybe that will be replacing him. Hopefully not, but.
Mike grabs the Washington football team defense for $2. So far, they are, I believe, the lowest ranked defense in the league. They are 32nd. Not fantasy, but for actual defensive statistics. Hoping for a comeback story here. They're going to get back to what everyone thought they would be in the offseason. They have the Atlanta Falcons. They are traveling on the road. We'll see how that pans out. Royce Freeman, possibly the pickup of the week, I think, $1.
Yeah, that was just a shot. I didn't think I was going to get him. I just wanted to put a bid on him. Wanted to go over the zero. I know how people are in this league with the $0 bids.
9 of them this week.
Yeah, so I wanted to just I wanted to take a shot at him, and luckily I got him. I like it. I like this pickup.
Speaking of $0 bids, couple of kickers, and then here's where I go against like the $13 on Beasley or Sanders. I was talking to Steve the night before. I don't know if he thought I was going to go heavy on these receivers. I put $0 bids on all of them. I got Hunter Renfrow for $0. I'd take Hunter Renfrow for 0 any day of the week.
I would have to look this up, but I believe he had like 8 or 9 targets.
He had 14.
14. All right, so I know he was another one with a career high.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's what it was. I don't want to go too high with the number. That wasn't exactly.
Yeah, 14 targets, and he has consistently been targeted.
And the quarterback leads the league in pass. I think he has over 1,200 yards.
Yeah, close to 400 yards, I think, last week again. So, great year so far for Derek Carr, and he's going to have to keep doing it if that team wants to keep winning. So, awesome. That is the injury and waiver wire segment. We are now going to jump into similar to what we did last week. We're going to try to keep this a little bit more organized for you guys this week. I know last week we went a little long. We're going to run through the NFL games, though, and really be more concise with our thought process, really focus in on what we believe is relevant versus hitting on every single player. But, yeah, let's kick it off. Today is Wednesday, so tomorrow night we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, 7.5-point underdogs, visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. Over-under of 45.5 points. I'm going to kick this over to Matt first from the Bengals perspective. You're starting Joe Mixon.
Yes.
T. Higgins officially out for this game. Are you firing up Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase?
I would probably start up both of them just because the Jaguars are awful.
Yeah.
Just absolutely awful, both sides of the ball.
Reminder to everybody, if you are firing them up, please get your receivers into the receiver slot. Get your players from Thursday night out of the flex.
Stop being foolish.
We shouldn't have to say that.
Yeah. Keep it on the Bengals side, though, Matt. Joe Burrow, rough year so far. You feel comfortable? Maybe in, I think, 2 QB leagues you would, but For our league, it's a 4-point touchdown league. You feel comfortable firing up Joe Burrow if you're streaming quarterbacks?
I mean, this week he has an easier matchup, but like if they take the lead, they just have Joe Mixon run the ball. I think he has like the second most carries out of any running back. Yeah, and they're just gonna keep feeding him, and once they have the lead, they're just gonna burn the clock out. So you can do it. I mean, he might score some points early, but I don't know if he's gonna maintain that the entire game.
Yeah, and I know you're personally firing up the Cincinnati Bengals defense.
Yes.
So, looking at the Jacksonville side of the ball, James Robinson coming off a 2020 James Robinson game.
Yeah, big week for him. He had a lot of, and this is what killed me last week, him and Brady. He had a drive where I believe he scored, I think he ended up scoring a touchdown, but without the touchdown, I think he had 7 points on the drive. And this was garbage, like absolute garbage time. So if he's doing that, Tom has himself a little bit of a gem there. But as far as this week, you got to start him. On the Jacksonville side, I would say Robinson and Marvin Jones maybe would be my 2 starts. I would stay away from Trevor Lawrence. The over and under is 45.5, which is telling me that I don't think the Jaguars are putting up too many points this week. So.
Gotcha. I feel like this is an every week thing, but really quickly, rank them. Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark. DJ Chark caught the touchdown last week. Marvin Jones had the targets again.
I think I would say Jones, Shark, and then Shenault. Shenault's kind of fallen down for me a little bit.
I think I am also in agreement on that. I think I prior to that had Laviska and DJ Flip coming around. Really quickly, one last name, Dan Arnold. Now traded to the Jaguars, I believe, in the C.J. Henderson deal.
Coming into a new offense, I don't think I would have any. Coming into that, especially that offense, I don't think I would have any parts of him this week.
I think I'm in agreement, staying away from Dan Arnold until, who knows, maybe he'll turn out to be a possible streamer. Let's move on to the next one here. Indianapolis Colts, 0-3. The 0-3 Colts, hard to say. Visiting the Miami Dolphins, 1-2. Miami is a 1.5 point favorite at home, over under a 43 points. Let's kick it off with the away team this time. The Colts. You have a beat up Carson Wentz and a underperforming Jonathan Taylor, but when it comes to those running backs, you're still playing Taylor. Interest in Hines?
Yeah, a lot. I believe he outsnapped Jonathan Taylor last week, which is not a trend that I want to see continue. But 42.5 for the over and under. I picked up the Dolphins defense, so I put myself in that position this week where I have a defense going against one of my players, my running backs. I'm hoping for a big week from Jonathan Taylor this week. I'm not too thrilled, I would say, about the matchup, especially like I said with the way his snap count's been going. Yeah, I would start both of them. To be honest with you, I think this is starting to become a team where you could start both the running backs.
Playing both.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman.
Yes, I would again.
Flex worthy.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Just having a very good year.
All
Carson,
right. Staying away from Carson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking at the Miami side of the ball, Jacoby Brissett steps in and, for fantasy purposes, has been better for that offense when it comes to receivers. Gesicki finally got a fantasy relevant game. You're not starting Jacoby Brissett.
No.
You're staying away from him. Miles Gaskin, overly disappointing this year. You okay playing Gaskin?
If you're in a pinch and you don't have like many other options, like there are a few teams in our league that are in very similar situations, like you'd be forced to play them, but you're not going to be happy about it.
Yeah, it's one of the few games where I should say, a few games this week where the over/under is kind of telling you something. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of points scored here.
Receivers for Miami. Will Fuller is out of practice again today.
He's hurt.
So you have Devontae Parker and Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle, I believe he caught 12 passes for
like
50-something yards.
He looks like the go-to guy for Biscuit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to give you a good floor. And
in PPR leagues,
yeah,
it's very relevant. Even if it's low yardage, it's still a ton of points just off catches.
Before we move on, since I picked them up, any interest in the Dolphins defense this week against the Colts Dolphins defense versus the Colts offense this week?
The Colts should have a good offense, but
he's running for his life every week.
He is running for his life, and did they just lose a lineman again?
Quentin Nelson is not. He is. He's not expected to be back.
Yeah, so I mean, he's probably going to be running for his life again on 2 hurt ankles. I mean,
I'm personally
defense.
okay.
Streaming
I'm
defense is
okay
true.
streaming both of these defenses, honestly. I think it's
Yeah,
going to
it's
be
not
one of
bad.
those ugly
Yeah,
games.
it's gonna be a gross game.
I do like the Colts to win this game. I know they are underdogs. I like them going to Miami and getting on the board here. I think this is a game they have to win to stay relevant in the South.
I agree.
And for our first round pick.
The 2-1 Cleveland Browns looked great last week, going to Minnesota to take on the 1-2 Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 2-point underdogs at home. It is, I believe there's a possible chance for some rain in this game too. Matt, let's go to the Vikings side. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, keeping a close eye there. Dalvin Cook returning to limited practice. But Madison stepped up.
Yeah, Madison finally had one of them. He in a backup role, he always does very well when he comes in for a couple plays. But it seems like every time he has a full game to himself, he always disappoints. And this time, he definitely did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he had an excellent, outstanding game, and get out of here. And if you're in the situation again where Dalvin Cook is out, I would 100% be confident playing that.
Was that a get out of here to someone texting?
Yes.
Nothing stands in the way of this show.
Yeah,
Family matters, we don't care.
Yeah.
Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen, an absolute just target hog right now in the red zone.
It's crazy.
I think you can fire both. You're still firing both of them up, absolutely.
You have to.
But
you can't not. Not until, I mean, like, everybody was predicting regression from Thielen, but he has, like, 4 touchdowns.
Cleveland ended up with a lot of sacks last week. I think that was more on the Chicago offense versus their defense. But, of course, they do still have a very strong defensive line. So something to keep in mind when see if Kirk Cousins is also running for his life. But one last question from Minnesota side. Tyler Conklin, he was a pickup, like I said, $7 worth of fab. Came in with a pretty strong week last week. You starting him? Okay, tight end streaming him this week as well?
Yeah, I'd be definitely okay streaming him this week.
Tyler Conklin or Jonnu Smith? Asking for a friend. Conklin. Okay. Jonnu Smith, Brock, you heard him. Let's go and jump over to the other side of the ball here. We got the Browns. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Great week last week.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you okay starting both of them as well against
I got it
Minnesota?
written down right here. Both backs. Yes, I'll fire both of them.
Odell Beckham came back.
Yeah, I believe he played 60% of the snaps, if I got this correct, and got 9 targets. I would absolutely play Beckham this week. And I think a sleeper for the quarterback position would be Baker Mayfield this week. If you look that over-under, I believe it was 51.5. You're expecting points in that game. I think he would be a good stream this week at quarterback.
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield, if I'm not mistaken, is leading the league in completion percentage right now. So doing what Baker does, they run the ball a lot, play action. Odell, very excited for, I love Odell as a player. 5 catches for 77 yards on 9 targets, as you mentioned. I think he's only going to get better as he's getting back in more game shape. You playing anyone outside of Odell?
So I wrote down Peoples-Jones and Higgins. If I had to lean anyway, I would say Peoples-Jones this week if you were looking for a streaming wide receiver in this game.
Okay. I'm probably trying to stay away from both of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Sure.
Again, we talked about this last week. We're early enough in the year where you can probably find better options. But again, if you're in a position where you need a wide receiver and you're looking at this game, again, over under 51.5, so you're looking at points, I would say Peoples-Jones would be the wide receiver 2 this week.
Gotcha. Let's keep going. Detroit Lions 0-3. A lot of nail biters though. They're playing teams tough this year.
Yeah, they're playing.
They're traveling to the Chicago Bears 1-2. Chicago at home. 89% chance of rain right now. Chicago is a 3-point favorite at home with a 42-point over/under. Rain, low over/under. Bears, Lions. I can't imagine we're excited about starting many people in this game, but I'll go to the Lions side first. Jake, outside of T.J. Hawkinson, are you playing any of these receiving options?
No. With the way the weather's going right now and an over/under 42, I think I would stay away from the receiver position for the Lions. Going to the running back, obviously, I think you fire up Swift with your draft capital in him. But I think this is going to be a Jamal Williams week. Again, with the weather, I think this is a ground-and-pound game for them. And if they're going to do that, I think Jamal Williams would be the play.
Anything on head coach coming out and saying you're going to see a lot more Swift?
No, I mean, what more I guess what more could you possibly say of him? He's the receiving back. He's the first and second down back, right? Usually he gets most of the carries there. No, I again, like I said with the weather, I think this might be a game where you ground the pound the ball.
I'm gonna butcher his name, but Jamar Chase being drafted over Penei Sewell.
Yeah, offensive lineman.
Sewell, I think.
Everyone, what is Cincinnati doing? They need to draft line. This guy has jumped off sides or a false start on 2 potential game-winning drives in back-to-back weeks. He's a rookie. He'll get it better. He hasn't also, I won't only say the negatives, he also hasn't allowed a sack on a quarterback he was protecting from his side, and I believe since his junior year of college.
How was that?
Which is pretty impressive. But, yeah, I also, really quickly, I think this is, if I'm a Hawkinson owner, and I know some people have come to me, I think this is an amazing buy low potential week on Hawkinson. I think 3 targets is going to be the lowest he receives all year. They saw what happens when they feed Hawkinson. They score points. They didn't score any this week. They are going to get him involved early and often in the offense. I for sure would reach out about acquiring Hawkinson. That's not even a personal. I just, that's me personally loving Hawkinson, even though he's on my team. Chicago Bears side. That's it. We just move on. David Montgomery.
That's about it. I mean,
Don't turn Allen Robinson.
If you
drafted Allen Robinson, you have to start him.
Are you trying to move him?
Are you buying low on Allen Robinson? This is also going to seem really personal because he's also on my team.
Yeah, personally, yeah. Like I don't think that should hold up. Like the low amount of targets and points he's been getting. Like he should do better.
Yeah.
He should be able to pick it up. The only issue is that Matt Nagy doesn't even know who's playing quarterback this week. He's got 3 options.
I was going to ask that. Who, if you're an Allen Robinson or a Darnell Mooney or even a David Montgomery owner, who do you want to play quarterback? It seems like whenever Justin Fields is out there, they're throwing him to the Lions. They
You roll him out.
Yeah, they're not protecting him. They've called. I forget where I heard the stat from, but I think they called the same play on 3rd down on 3 different drives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did. Yeah.
Matt Nagy he could also be given the Ben Simmons Loser of the Week award every week.
Now say weekend and weekend.
It stinks.
But Dalton or Fields, who would you?
Dalton. If I'm fantasy wise, I want Dalton back there.
Fantasy wise?
Yeah. Fantasy wise for my receivers.
Probably
I
Dalton.
want Dalton.
Probably Dalton.
Can I choose Fields and Nagy fired? Because I think Fields is more talented. And
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, then you're bringing in a whole new system.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, yeah, but you're bringing in a whole new system,
Yeah.
Coach, and again,
you're gonna have a rookie quarterback already on his second head coach.
But we're spending way too much time on
Yeah, we're sitting everyone else, Mooney, Kmet, Marquise Goodwin.
For the time being.
Big game. Kansas City Chiefs, 1-2, traveling to your Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles also 1-2. 7-point favorites, the Chiefs traveling to Philly, over under of 54.5 points. Jake, this is going to pain you. We're hometown Birds fans, but you're firing everybody up against the Eagles.
Yeah, oh God. The Eagles defense looked good against the run, and then all of a sudden Dallas happened, and they exploited them a lot. So obviously you were going to. I was a little concerned with Clyde, but I guess this week is one of the weeks you would fire him up. Tyreek has been getting a lot more attention. Obviously you're going to play him, but I think Kelsey is going to absolutely destroy the Eagles this week.
Yeah, I'm even okay with playing Mecole Hardman. I'd slide in Mecole Hardman. I don't think he's a fantastic player, but I think he's speed against an Eagles defense that seems to get beat by double moves pretty often. 54.5 is telling you, obviously, there's going to be a lot of points scored, and you would think they're going to come from the quarterback. So, yeah, I think Hardman would be a good play this week. Really quickly, don't want to spend a lot of time, but Josh Gordon signed with the Chiefs. Thoughts on, is he fantasy relevant? With their receiving core, potentially. I could see him, it all depends on his shape and everything, how he's football ready and all that type of stuff. But maybe potentially down the line he could be a little bit of a help for them. Yeah, Andy said that he doesn't expect him for this game, but might see him sooner rather than later. Jumping to the Philadelphia side, Miles Sanders, 2 carries in the Dallas game. You still feel comfortable firing out Miles?
No. No, I mean RPOs are not run plays. They are not run plays. If you do not run it, it's not a run play.
So you're not taking on the Sirianni the Hurts recommendation of, hey, this is just a dump. You flush it and keep moving.
I mean, I hope that they are smart enough to, but you have a first-year head coach that you have to see how he reacts to things, and I don't really know enough about him to say, yeah, he's definitely going to switch it up and Sanders is going to be a good play this week. You also got to realize that Eagles are going to be losing this entire game. So, are you going to be able to run the ball, or are you going to have to go back to the same mindset and just keep throwing?
Yeah, I think with that in mind, Kenneth Gainwell or Miles Sanders, who do you feel more comfortable playing?
Miles Sanders still.
Okay. Jalen Hurts, I think at this point you're starting him every week. Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Rager. Has Quez Watkins become the number one receiver in this offense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he gets a lot of looks. He gets a lot of like short passes, and he's incredibly fast. He can just take it to the house if he has to. But he seems to be the guy they look at. And then Devontae Smith also gets a couple looks. Rager is just a deep threat that they'll throw the ball to maybe twice a game.
Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz got in the end zone. Dallas Goedert, actually don't recall how he did. I feel like I was too busy stressing out on this game.
Had a big drop for the pick six.
He did. I'm not thrilled about starting either of them. But
no, not if one of them gets hurt, you'd be excited about the other one. But for the time being, no.
2 for 66 was Dallas Goedert. 4 targets.
And a huge drop.
Yes. Moving on here, going to the New York Giants versus the New Orleans Saints. The Giants at 0-3, 8-point dogs on the road. New Orleans Saints bouncing back last week to a 2-1 record. Another game where it's in the dome, luckily, but rain seems to be all over the place. Luckily, New Orleans has that dome to protect, but over under a 42 points, so a low-scoring one expected here. Going at the Saints, Alvin Kamara got back on target last week. You're starting him. Anyone in this past game you're starting? You're thinking Marquez Callaway caught a touchdown. It's probably it.
But, yeah, I don't think there's really much in this offense outside of Alvin Kamara that you're going to be comfortable starting every week.
Jameis Winston is streamed against pretty decent Giant secondary.
Yeah, no. I mean, Jameis is really good at throwing interceptions, and he could always give you some minus points, and he's Jameis Winston. I'm not comfortable starting him ever.
Got it. Going to the Giants side of things, there's really no one in this game I want to play at all. Daniel Jones has been on fire. Great for...
Yeah, good week to stream him. Again, another one if you have the option, if you need him. I would recommend Daniel Jones this week. Saquon, 16 carries last week with a touchdown. Looks like he's starting to get his legs underneath him a little bit. And I believe the Giants are having a little bit of problems with the receiving corps.
I think Kenny G might be the only one that's healthy. Oh,
I wouldn't call it.
You want to call it healthy, yeah. And
so
Evan Ingram.
I was just about to say, so this might be a week where if you're firing somebody up on the offensive side for the Giants, it might be Evan Ingram.
All right, I think there's nothing much else in that game. It's a very ugly fantasy game for sure. Defenses, maybe. I'm okay playing the Saints defense. And
the Giants were an option for me this week.
Yeah. Speaking of getting back on track, the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. Josh Allen went off.
Big week.
But they are taking on the Houston Texans. And Matt, I believe you're looking at that number. That is certainly correct. It's actually crept up.
No.
The Houston Texans are traveling to the Buffalo Bills. Houston Texans 1-2. Let's give them credit where credit is due. 1-2 Houston Texans taking on the 2-1 Buffalo Bills. Houston 17-point dogs on the road. The over-under is 47 points. Let's start with the Bills. You're firing up Josh Allen. You're playing Stephon Diggs. You're probably okay slotting in Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
Zach Moss and Devin Singletary is where I like to focus. I feel like they're both. You probably can start both of them.
You can probably, but they're just a run or not a run. They're a throw first team. Even if they're up 100 points, they're going to keep throwing the ball. So I'd be more comfortable starting Zach Moss over Devin Singletary. But I mean, I'm firing up every receiver this week for this team.
Zach Moss due to the red zone carries.
Just make it a little tougher if you had the choice. Would you start Sanders? If you had to, Sanders would be easy.
Emmanuel Sanders?
Emmanuel Sanders would beat
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Huh.
That's just a personal
Some teams out there might have them both. You never know. Looking at Houston's side,
I think there's one player, Brandon Cooks.
Davis Long Neck Mills does nothing for you.
No, I stay away from him. Obviously,
Good old Littlefoot.
Yeah, stay away from.
Um,
Stay away from the running back situation there. Brandon Cooks has been an excellent receiver so far this year, and I would I'd definitely fire him up.
Yeah, I'm actually playing against Brandon Cooks this week, and yeah, he is the wide receiver 6 on the year in half-point PPR. 9 catches in back-to-back weeks. He's the only person on the team that I think may be capable of catching a football. Anthony Miller doesn't do anything for him. I know he
And also the Bills' defense. Looking for a defense. I
Yes.
think the Bills will be
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of the top defenses this week.
I totally agree.
Going out on a limb on that one.
Moving on here, the 3-0 Carolina Panthers, 5-point underdogs traveling to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys, 2-1 after the beatdown of the Eagles on Monday night. Over under here, 50.5 points. Despite CMC's injuries, I still think some points are going to be put up here. Let's focus on the Panthers side of the ball first. CMC out, Chuba Hubbard in.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start him. He's a starting running back this week. That 50.5 is really, I think that's good for DJ Moore. That looks like a big number. I believe he'll have a big week this week. And if there's ever a week you're going to see Robbie Anderson, I think this might be it. If he doesn't show us much, I think this might be the time where we call it a season.
Cut Canada.
Call it
Cut
Canada. Yeah, call it a season here for Robbie.
Yeah, I think DJ Moore is officially. I was completely wrong on him. I didn't think he was going to be a bust.
He's a target hog.
But I didn't think he was going to. Yeah, I thought for sure it was going to be more spread out. You got him in the 5th round. I mean, super good value. I think he's officially made that jump. Like he's a lock it in and forget it for the rest of the
It'll
year.
be interesting with the defense. The Panthers are playing very well, fantasy-wise at least. And watching them last Thursday, I think that was the first time I kind of zoned in one of their games. Their defense flies around the field. They're a really, really fast defense. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able. I held on to them this week to carry 2 defenses. If they're able to maybe stop the Cowboys, I think that might be able to tell you something about them.
Matt Rule does it wherever he goes.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He turns
coach.
organizations around. Cowboys side of the ball, Dak Prescott, tough matchup against Carolina. You're still playing him, Cooper and Lamb?
I'm still starting all 3 of them just because that offense is just deadly. It's insanely good. They have 2 great receivers. They have 2 really good running backs, and Dak looks great. He looked great, last week too.
If Cooper doesn't have a good game this week, let's say if we get another Cooper game of under 5 points, concerns moving forward. Like, what do you do with Cooper?
I mean,
still kind of just ride him.
You have to hold on to him. I mean, you could consider you might have to just start playing matchups now, and play him against weaker defenses because he is hurt. But until he gets over that, I mean, he has, he's going to get the number 1s on him. It's just going to be a rough road ahead for him.
And you mentioned it briefly, but Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. I think Zeke, of course, is your locked in starting him. But Tony Pollard starting to become flex worthy. 11 more
He's a
carries.
very flex worthy player.
Watching the game Monday night, he started. I shouldn't say started. He was playing a lot early, and then it kind of died down a little bit.
Yeah,
and they scaled back on him a little bit, and that might have just been game script. That we're starting to blow the Eagles out.
Yeah.
Maybe let Zeke start getting a little, getting his workload in.
Yeah, I think they've been. I feel like when they need to change the pace, he's looked explosive.
He's fast.
Yeah, he's good at running between the tackles too. Let's keep it going here. Tennessee Titans traveling to the Jets. The 2-1 Titans taking on the 0-3 Jets. The Jets are a 7-point underdog at home. 44.5 point over under. It is supposed to be messy here as well. The rain continues. Playing anybody on New York. This Tennessee Titans secondary gives up a lot of yards. Corey Davis to play?
Maybe. I mean,
Elijah
Jets,
Moore also may not play. James Crowder may not play. He's kind of like the guy there.
Yeah, he's the guy there. I mean, he's a flex option, but I mean, like, this team is brutal to watch, man.
Yeah, 10 targets last week for Corey Davis.
Yeah, I mean, you could, if you're in PPR leagues, definitely start him, but I mean, like,
keeping an eye on Michael Carter? Still rostering him, or is he a cut candidate?
You still keep him.
He seems to start. I mean, he's getting most of the carries.
And you're not playing Zach Wilson, I imagine.
No, I don't want to play anybody on that team.
Gotcha.
It stinks.
Do you play the defense if Julio and AJ don't play and Messi or?
No, because they got Derrick Henry that's just going to run and run.
All right, yeah. Speaking of the Titans, I think we're playing the Titans defense. We're playing Derrick Henry. Are you comfortable starting Tannehill, poor weather, maybe having his 2 top receivers out?
I wouldn't say I'm comfortable starting him. I think I would try to steer away from him this week. But going off of that, Chester Rogers is a name to look out for this week. He might be the number 1 option going into the game. I know Joe said that we were looking at rain for this game, right? Low,
yes.
over, under,
yes.
maybe some rain. So I wouldn't say a play this week, but maybe somebody who, maybe if he does make a couple plays, could start getting a little bit more involved in the offense with these 2 nursing injuries.
A.J. Brown, I think, is going to miss, if I had to guess. Julio, I think, will play, maybe limit it. I actually go to Nick Westbrook Ikini, I believe his name is pronounced. But he had himself a pretty good game in the absence of Julio last week. Rodgers got a touchdown. I believe he also caught a touchdown. Trying to stat check that, but he did 4 for 53 and a touchdown. Looked pretty good on the plays that we saw. We had, of course, the quad box going, but we're staying away from the tight ends in this game.
I was just about to ask you, any interest in the
Furcher's back in practice. He missed last game. I still don't want to play him.
Never want to go with one of the committees, especially at the tight end.
That is that's that 14th round pick Furcher we're talking about. Watch how we put some respect on his name. Moving into the last 1 o'clock game, the Washington football team 1-2, taking on the 1-2 Atlanta Falcons. This one is in Atlanta. Atlanta is a 1.5-point dog at home. Looking at Washington, Gibson, we mentioned it earlier in the show, but had a great breakout reception, took it 70-something yards to the house. You're playing Gibson. You're playing Terry. If Curtis Samuel comes back and plays this game, are you comfortable putting him in your lineup, or are you waiting a week?
No, I'm going to wait the week. I got to see this quarterback again. And, he has played fantasy-wise, he's played pretty well. But I would need to see if he can carry 2 receivers. I don't know if he'll be able to do that.
All right.
3 including Logan Thomas.
I was going to say Logan Thomas. We are.
Yeah, 3 fantasy relevant pass catchers might be a little bit much for this quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I have him on my team personally. I'm definitely waiting a week to see what happens. Last question on them. J.D. McKissick came back down.
I was just about to say, dude, you just stole the words right out of my
Yeah.
mouth. Yeah, came back to life. 2 targets, I believe it was, right? 2 for 2, 15 yards. 4.8. I wouldn't necessarily start him this week, but again, name just to look out for if he's not rostered, which I believe he probably is in everyone's league. But now, like you said, he came back to life a little bit. I'm hoping that last week was a start, maybe Gibson starting to get them a lot of them receptions, and hopefully starting to take off in the run game.
Yeah.
And then Terry, of course, you got to fire Terry.
Fire Terry up.
Number 1 option on the team.
Speaking of number 1 options, we'll jump to the other team. Calvin Ridley, somewhat disappointing this year so far, but I imagine you're firing Ridley up. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley and Tyron Woodley sound very similar
Yes,
in my
they
head.
do.
I almost just said that a guy who lost to Jake Paul was going to line up at receiver. Calvin Ridley is being started.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any interest in any of the other receiving options, including Kyle Pitts? Are you nervous about Pitts?
No, I feel like Washington's let up a lot of points this year. Their defense has not looked as good as it is supposed to be.
No, they're very hyped coming into the year.
Yeah,
they're
coming off a big year.
Really hyped up. Yeah, they were actually last year. This year they have been.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. That's the big thing.
That was their thing last year, was pressure. That's why their defensive backs look so good, and they're just not getting it this year.
Yeah. Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson. I feel like Cordell might have taken...
I think he's the guy there. He's very involved.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe he had 7 carries. It's just more passing for him, and I say it every week we talk about him. It's if he's able to break one, that's 6 free points right there. If he's able to break a punt return or a kick return,
looks better.
and we've seen him do it before. And he's I think he's 28, 29, right in the prime of his career. This could be his one big year maybe to cash in.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's jump into the first 4 o'clock game. Arizona Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Rams, both 3-0 teams. Someone's got to take a loss here. The Rams are 4-point favorites at home. So basically almost a pick 'em. 55 point over under. We'll start with the Rams over here to the right, Matt. With you, we're firing up Cooper Kupp. I'm comfortable playing Stafford. What about Robert Woods? He is starting to become a little.
This one's a little personal, but
Yeah.
I love and hate Robert Woods. I mean, I'm actually getting a little worried about Robert Woods. He's just not the guy there. Like, they are getting a lot more players involved in this past game, and Cooper Kupp he's the guy there. Like, that's Stafford's one. He looks at every route.
You're still playing Robert Woods, like you said.
You're still playing Robert Woods. You're not super thrilled about it, and he will have games where he does do well, and this could be one.
He'd be a good game. You're playing him. Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson. If Henderson comes back, do you play him, or do you? If he plays, can you play Sony as well?
I think if Henderson plays, you just play Henderson, and if not, then
you play Sony.
You play Sony. Yeah.
Makes sense. Jumping over to the Arizona side, Kyler Murray had a average game, not a Kyler Murray game. You're playing him. The pass catchers, DeAndre Hopkins is a little banged up. He's going to play. You play DeAndre. Are you comfortable playing Rondell Moore, Christian Kirk, AJ Green?
No, not really. I think this Rams defense is really good. If I had other options, the only one I obviously would start is Hopkins. Rondell Moore would be sitting on my bench. I don't think AJ Green's going to be a factor this week. And even with Edmonds, I mean, if you have another option, I would definitely try to look at another running back. I just think this Rams defense is this Rams team is very good. Obviously, you want to start Murray, but you saw what they did to Brady. Brady ended up having a decent fantasy game, but a lot of that was, I believe,
he did get a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, and I believe 8 points of that was late. They had that garbage touchdown, which it all matters, and it's relevant in fantasy, obviously. But they held Tom Brady to a pretty bad game.
You mentioned Edmonds really quickly. James Conner, 11 for 43 and 2.
Yeah, that's another one. And bringing in defense and then James Conner, I think that I would try to steer away from Chase Edmonds this week. So Hopkins would be the only real
Arizona play.
Yeah, I would say, besides obviously Murray. Yeah.
All right, Seattle Seahawks 1-2, a couple heartbreaks. Taking on the San Francisco 49ers 2-1. Niners at home and 2.5 point favorites. 52 point over under. Another fantasy relevant game. Seattle, you playing Russ. You're playing Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Concerned with Carson's injury or firing him up?
No, I think we touched on it a little earlier. I haven't heard much about that after seeing him get hurt during the game, so I think he should be fine. Obviously, Russ is a star. Lockett's the one you want to look out for potentially with that injury. He seemed to be a little worse off than Carson was. And obviously, you want to start Metcalf. And that's pretty much it. I mean, Nick Disley, a wide receiver, but I don't think I'd be starting the Seattle wide receiver, tight end this week.
Yeah, I think a lot of the questions come on the Niners end. George Kittle, you're playing, obviously. Debo Samuel, I feel like at this point you're kind of locking him as a 2.
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk, he's back. Comfortable now playing him again, flexing him in, maybe wide receiver 2 worthy.
Against the Seahawks, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable playing Brandon Ayuk this week.
If Elijah Mitchell does not play, Kyle Juszczyk was like the running back 1 there. Sometimes I think Shanahan just likes to mess with everyone. Are you comfortable playing Trey Sermon if Elijah Mitchell does not play?
Even if Elijah Mitchell does play, I'm not personally comfortable playing any of the running backs on that team. They have, I'm looking at it right now, they have 8 running backs rostered, and
I'm actually surprised it's that low.
Yeah, and Juszczyk's a fullback. So they have 2 fullbacks and 8 running backs rostered on this team right now. So,
I actually have him in my starting. I play Mitchell. I think I played Mitchell against Seattle. I think he is going to jump right back in. Trey Sermon did not look good.
He didn't, no. My only concern with Mitchell is if he still is hurt, if they do want to manage him a bit, they do have 600 options.
Yeah.
And Juszczyk is, he was the guy, so he might still be the guy until he loses it.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on for sure, because we know San Fran does bring value to the running back. It's just who's it going to be. Moving on here, the 2-1 Baltimore Ravens going to Denver to take on the 3-0 Denver Broncos. I don't think many people saw that coming. The Baltimore Ravens stole one from Detroit last week on history. Baltimore is a 1-point underdog as well going into Denver, and the over-under is looking about 44.5, 45 points depending where you look. Let's start on Denver's side of the ball. the receiving options are starting to become
They're
dwindling down. Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton. You feel comfortable playing both of them?
I feel comfortable playing Cortland Sutton. Tim Patrick is a flex option, but with all the injuries the receiving corps happen, they are both supposed to get more targets. So, they both do look appealing.
Very deceiving on Baltimore right now against the tight end, but I think they played like 4 of the top 5 tight ends in the league off the first 4 weeks. They played Kelsey. They played Waller week 1. They played Hawkinson last week. They shut one down and they got killed by the other 2.
Yeah.
Playing Noah Fant?
Yeah, I'm playing Noah Fant.
He had a bad week last week, didn't he?
I think they're okay.
Did he?
He had an alright one, yeah.
But even so, with more receivers getting hurt, Noah Fant just becomes a bigger target.
Yeah, he was. Oh, actually, no. Noah Fant and T.J. Hawkinson both had bad weeks. Fant was 2 catches for 15 yards. I'm thinking of the week before when he caught that touchdown.
I thought he had a pretty good
Running backs, really quickly. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Basically a 50-50 split. You feel okay playing both of them against Baltimore, flexing if you have to?
Melvin Gordon actually had a small rib thing. Every running back and 100 players have rib issues right now. So I don't know if it's just like a management day or not.
Wednesdays,
Yeah, it's a Wednesday, so I can't really. Like, I would be starting Javonte here. And Melvin Gordon, see where he's at, but he is the running back 11 right now, even though he's still splitting time.
Gotta love those long runs for touchdowns. Week
Love
1,
it.
70-something yarder.
Love
Really
it.
helps your stats until a couple weeks go by.
Yeah.
Baltimore side of the ball, you're firing up Lamar Jackson despite him not being at practice. Again, it's a Wednesday. Marquise Brown.
The pass catchers are a little. I'm kind of a little weird about them.
Big drops last week.
Yeah.
Big drops.
4 of them, I believe. So
Yeah.
at least 1 in the end zone.
Him and Sammy Watkins were killing me as a Lamar owner.
But that Denver defense seems like it's pretty legit, and I think we all know going to Denver is just a whole other animal. So I would kind of stay. If you have to fire him up, obviously you start Hollywood. Andrews is probably a must play. Not that I like him this week. Tyson might be the play this week. It's coming as far as the skill positions go for the Ravens, I think.
I don't want to play any of those running backs this week. Ever, actually.
If I had to, I think he would be the one to fire up this week. Again, with the way that Denver defense plays.
Yeah. Latavius Murray, more carries last week.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you in a sense of like Tyson's probably the play.
They're going to be on the
back,
ground. Yeah, you know what I mean? They're going to be on the ground moving the ball. I could see this being a low scoring.
Such a headache. That backfield, such a headache.
That team's a headache.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't know where you're getting weekly.
All right, let's go. Final 4:00 game here. Pittsburgh Steelers 1-2 taking on the 2-1 Green Bay Packers at home and are 6.5 point favorites. 46 point over under. Another game where we might see some rain. Does that mean, Matt, we are even more thrilled of Aaron Jones?
Absolutely.
We're firing him up. Devontae Adams, you're still playing.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers, you're playing.
Yep.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling, they finally connected last week.
If it's if it's going to be a rainy, crappy game, I would probably try to steer away from them because they might try to keep everything a little shorter and utilize the run game because they do have 2 good running backs. I wouldn't be super confident starting A.J. Dillon, but I think that both Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are going to get a lot more work if it is a crappy, rainy day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, jumping to Pittsburgh side, Ben Roethlisberger did not look great last week. Their receivers are beat up. I actually think they're all going to play, but
regardless if they don't play, I'm not starting any offensive player on this team, including the quarterback, except for Najee Harris, who had, I believe, 20 targets last
Deontay
week.
Johnson?
If he's playing, but coming off the injury, you're going to play him, but he's not somebody I'm thrilled about this week, I should say. He's in your starting lineup, but he's not somebody I'm thrilled about. Ben looks like he can't really throw the ball anymore. Look, from what I've seen, we're getting bench Ben memes and all that type of stuff, so I'm kind of staying away from any skill positions there again, besides Najee Harris. I think he is the play this week.
Yeah, I'd be okay playing Deontay and Claypool. Probably steer away from Juju. But
yeah, not so much. I mean, these are players that like I said, you kind of have to play right now the way you drafted them. But I'm not thrilled about them.
Possibly the must-watch game of the week, and I believe it's also, as of right now, a 90% chance of rain, which is really bumming me out. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2-1, going to New England. Tom Brady's back in New England. The Patriots are 1-2. Patriots are also 6.5-point dogs at home. 49.5-point over under. Let's start with the Bucs side of the ball. Brady has to go crazy, right?
Well, all the factors of him going back, and then add in, I believe he's going to break the record for
he very well should. Yeah.
So unless there's a monsoon that hits and there's 40, 50 mile an hour winds, I would fire up everyone who's healthy.
Godwin, Gronk, Evans, AB's supposed to be back.
Yeah, if everyone's healthy, and I would say your best bet's probably Fournette right now at the running back. Looks like Ronald Jones starting to fall off a little bit.
Who also, Fournette just did not come through last week.
They have a rough running game. I wouldn't start anybody, but if you needed to start a running back, he would be the running back on that team.
I'm in agreement. Just as tough on the other side of the ball. Let's go to the Patriots running back. James White went down. Damian Harris had a rough
6 carries.
Yeah.
Led the team in carries. I believe it was 6 and then 3, but 6 carries.
Brandon Bolden led the team in snaps at the running back position. What do you do with that, Matt? Are you still okay playing Harris against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers running defense?
Not even a little bit. I'm okay playing 0 players on New England this week.
I really think, I'm going to be wrong, because I think Brandon Bolden always pops up. J.J. Taylor is going to come in for that James White role. I think he's the most electric one out of the backfield in the pass-catching work right now. I personally think he's going to see most of the passing down work, which may have to be a lot if Tampa Bay puts up some points. I'm not playing him, but something to keep an eye on.
Keep an eye on.
You're not playing Mac Jones. You're not playing any of these tight ends, Hunter Henry, Jonas Smith.
I don't think they're really playable, period. They've just been poor sauce.
Jacoby Myers, PPR.
I guess, but I mean, this, like you said, it's supposed to rain this game, too.
Yeah, I still think he'll be okay.
He'll be all right, but like I'm not confident starting any Patriot this week.
Yep, I try to stay away from them as well. Final game of the week, Monday night, Las Vegas Raiders. This seems exciting. I'm so glad we get to watch them again on Monday night. Never thought I'd say that. 3-0 going to the Los Angeles Chargers. 2-1. Chargers are 3-point favorites at home. 52.5-point over under. Starting with the Chargers, you're starting Eckler. You're playing Keenan Allen, and your wide receiver 2, Mike Williams. Wide receiver 2 on the year. And what about Jared Cook? And Justin Herbert has been not as exciting as you would think with the way Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are playing.
Yeah, but like the Raiders always have exciting games. Like they've been overtime all 3 weeks.
They've been close.
Yeah. So I think that you're going to get an exciting game regardless. I think that both Jared Cook and Justin Herbert are both startable this week.
I think Herbert keeps it up. I know last week had a really good game, but before that it was under 15 for weeks 1 and 2.
I think he has a very good game again going forward.
Let's take a look at the Raiders side. Derek Carr, as you mentioned, I believe leading the league in passing yards. You okay firing him up against the Chargers?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch on Monday night, and I would definitely start Derek Carr this week.
As far as pass catchers go, Bryan Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, Henry Ruggs. Want to rank them really quick?
I would go Ruggs, Renfrow, and then Bryan Edwards.
And then Darren Waller.
Yeah, of course. I think that goes without question. The running back position is, again, in... I believe Drake's going to start this week.
Peyton Barber had 21 carries last
is that
week.
Yeah. I was trying to think.
Or no, sorry. 23 carries, 21 fantasy points.
Well, there you go. If you're going to play anybody, I guess it would be Peyton Barber this week. I haven't really gotten an update on Josh Jacobs. I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. All right, anything else from this game we want to talk about? I feel pretty good about it.
Defenses. I think it's going to be high scoring. Again, I think Derek Carr is another fantastic play this week at the quarterback position.
All right, that will do it then for the NFL matchups of the week. To close out the day and close out our show here, I want to get into the final segment. We're going to go through our picks for the week for the CBFFL games. We're going to start off with Tom versus Brian. Tom right now and Brian basically a pick'em. They're right at about 116 each. Tom 3-0, Brian 1-2. Tom could put a stamp on the division almost, like really assert his dominance, or Brian might make it a very interesting first couple weeks here. But.
So this switched around a little bit. Brian was a slight favorite going in. I believe he switched out Antonio Brown for Sterling Shepard. So that's what put Tom in the slight lead as far as projection. What?
He put out AJ Brown.
He put in Antonio Brown.
He put in Antonio.
Took out Shepard, put in Antonio
Gotcha.
Brown.
Never mind. Don't mind me. He has 2
Brian has a lot of injuries this week, and I don't like the Kyler Murray matchup against the Rams. I'm going to go with Tom going to 4-0 this week.
I'm also going to take Tom 4-0.
Yeah, I agree, Tom. I think it goes 4-0.
America?
Tom.
Let's go, Tom. Moving into the next Eastern game here, C Block's Biggest Loser taking on the Global Gym Purple Cobras, your team. Also,
Yeah, right.
basically a pick 'em.
Yeah, one slight 1 point advantage. Matt, you want to take this one?
I think that Charlie's actually going to win this game. I think that him having
Tripping
a
in the
defense,
Chuba?
Yeah, tripping in the Chuba really helps. Like his defense is playing the Jets even, and if you have a defense that scores a decent amount of points, you're going to have a fun week. And just the Rodgers-Adams combo is disgusting.
yeah, I'm not going to like it, Jake, but I'm going to take Charlie as well. I do think his team, I think Mike might have said it week 1, like his team's only going to get better as the year goes on.
I agree.
Yeah, I think Charlie's going to take it.
Yeah, obviously I have the complete opposite. I think I have some good matchups this week, and I think like Gibson going up against Atlanta, Cup against Arizona, Debo going against Seattle. I think I have a lot, and I'm hoping, I say this every week, I'm hoping Pitts finally breaks out this week, but if I can get him to break out, I had a bad week last week, a really bad week last week, and I had 4 players score under 10, and I still put up 111 points. So I'm confident still about my lineup. I just need that tight end position to be nice to hit this week, so I do think I'm going to win. America?
Char by 10.
All right, we're gonna go a little bit of a different order here. We're gonna jump to El Tigre Azul versus America and Salang Sanitation. Right now, Salang Sanitation a 108 to 100 point favorite. I'm gonna take Salang Sanitation in the fact that I think El Tigre Azul's roster is just he's gonna need to sneak out a win or two in these next couple of weeks. He might need to make a move, but really struggling with injury.
Yeah, he's looking at the depleted roster this week. Obviously, the running back position. Juju might not play. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Mike.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Mike for the exact same reason.
Mike, America?
Come on.
El Tigre or?
You're the LT Grays?
All right. Going to save the game of the week for last, so we're going to jump in. This is officially the first week outside of week 1. We have some additional East versus West matchups. So, Jose's Hooligans taking on Wissanomi Radskins. Matt, I'm going to assume you're taking your team to win. You are a 7-point favorite right now.
Yes.
Okay. I am also going to take your team to win. So.
Yeah, I like Matt this week.
I'll be rooting heavily.
Yeah,
for
Jose looks like he's
Same.
got Wilson going to San Fran. They got a pretty tough defense. And then the whole Lockett injury. And Carson both on the mend right now.
We've got the whole Seattle.
So, yes, I will go.
He was probably sweating bullets last week. I know he won, but Lockett and Carson both going down.
We had a very interesting chat all day and into Monday night.
America?
Give me Matt.
All right. Let's go to
The toilet
God.
Fucking
uh,
shitty ass game.
yeah, Alexander's Greats versus B Block's Finest.
I'm taking Alex because I don't care who wins.
For the love of God, I
I'd
hope
rather have
Steve wins. I'm gonna take Steve. And this is like this. You know how Tom every week is asking us to turn on the Jacksonville game, and I always look at him and go,
This is the Jacksonville
"How
game.
can you ask me to turn on the Jacksonville game?"
I got you, bro.
This is the Jacksonville game where someone's like, "Hey, what's going on with the Steve Alex?" And I'm like, "It's Steve Alex. Who cares?" And you're like, "Well, he's in my division. I want to see what's going on." That's this game.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope Steve loses, so.
I hope Steve wins, but I don't
America?
think it probably
I
doesn't
don't
matter.
think anybody's home at the Greats, so give me Steve. He'll at least start, all the
I'm sorry, I
Buffalo
skipped
receivers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Alex just because simply
Rather
because
see him win?
I'd rather see him win. Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I went Steve because I honestly think he's going to win. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, like you said, it's
It'll be
the Jags versus
It's
Jets.
11 versus 12.
It's who's getting
Let's keep it moving.
less ping pong balls.
I got wings waiting for me.
All right, game of the week. Myself, both sides of the bun, taking on Brock football team. We are right now. Both sides of the bun is currently about a 5.5 point favorite, I believe. I'm going to take myself, get back on track. I believe take over first place in the division. Jake.
Yeah, I think you're gonna pull this one out this week. He has Joe Newman right now at tight end. He could switch that out for Conklin. He's got a couple guys on his bench, Beckham and Gaskin, that he could potentially play, but I don't really know who he would take out of his lineup. And yeah, I think we're going to get the win this week. Matt?
I think I like Brock here. Actually, I think Brock has better matchups than you do. It's mainly just because you have 2 question marks at receiver spots. Like Allen Robinson, it's not his fault that he's not playing well or scoring points. He's just not scoring points. And Julio Jones.
That Julio Jones is going to be garbage.
An issue. Okay.
Well, he is starting it.
Well then.
But that's not who's in there now. So
no, you also have the Elijah Mitchell question mark that's there as well. So you have a couple things in there that I'm not super confident about that.
Me neither, man.
Lets me lead towards Brock this week.
America. Why is Brock going to beat me?
He's got the best team in the West, unfortunately, as much as it pains me to say it at the moment.
All right, that wraps up our game of the week and our matchups. Jake's got wings at the house, so we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Hopefully we did a better job this week of keeping things short for you, but
110.
We did? Perfect.
15 minutes.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Really quickly, before we wrap up, I did want to do this. Wanted to give a prayers and support to Mike Tagliari, a awesome guy. Obviously, we didn't know him personally, but I think he is a role model for those trying to come up in the fantasy world. I know I really appreciated his content. He unfortunately passed away due to COVID-19 last weekend. Just support, prayers,
absolutely.
condolences to the family. If we can, we're going to try to link as well. Again, not that we have a huge follower, but link the GoFundMe page in the description of this video. So any little bit counts. You guys can donate. I know a lot of us are going to as well, or have. So it means a lot. But yeah, really sad to hear, Mike, from what I heard and what I've watched on YouTube and podcast, great guy. So hate to see that happen. But again, prayers and condolences, and that's how we'll unfortunately wrap up on a sad note. But thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you next week.